Hello students and welcome to your English class. Today we are going to take a topic from your book Communicate with Cambridge. The name of the lesson is 3 Questions by Leo Tolstoy. About the author. Leo Tolstoy was a Russian author, a master of realistic fiction and one of the world's greatest novelists. War and Peace, Anna Karenina, etc. were some of his most notable works. He received world renown as a moral and religious teacher. His doctrine of non-resistance to evil had an important influence on Gandhi. Introduction to the lesson. In his lesson, 3 Questions, Tolstoy wrote about moral philosophy. The lesson is written in a simple but expressive style. Now let's take the new words from the lesson. Proclamation, announcement or declaration, frail, weak, essential, necessary, renowned, well-known, hermit, a person living in solitude as a religious disciple, spade, a tool for digging, a while, for a short time, moaning, a long low sound of pain, seized, taken by force, absorbed, taken in or soaked up. Now let's discuss the word meanings. Varied, showing variation or variety. Counselors, a member of a council. Dismounted, got off. Seized, taken by force. Recovered, return to life or consciousness or recover from an illness. Intently, with full attention. Resolved, determined or committed. Ambush, trap. Crouching, squatting or sitting on one's heels. Occupation, a job. Now let's discuss the lesson 3 Questions by Leo Tolstoy. Once a certain king had an idea. If he always knew the right time to begin everything, if he knew who the right people were to listen to and who was to avoid, and above all, if he knew what was the most important thing to do, he would never fail in anything he might undertake. Now, there was a king who had an idea. If he knew what was the right time to do anything and everything, if he knew who was the most important person that he should listen to, who to avoid, and what was the most important thing that he should do, he would never fail in anything that he would do in the future. Since he was convinced that he was right in thinking this way, he had a proclamation made in his kingdom. He would give a great reward to anyone who would teach him what was the right time for every action and who the most necessary people were, and how he might know the most important thing to do. Now, because he was convinced that his idea was correct, he had a declaration made in his kingdom, and he would reward the person who would tell him what was the right time for every action, what was the right time to do anything, what was the most important person to him, and what was the most important thing that he should do. Many learned men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. Now a lot of wise men, a lot of learned men came up to the king to answer his questions, but everyone answered his questions in different ways. In reply to the first question, some said that to know the right time for every action, one must draw up in advance a table of days, months, and years, and must live strictly according to it. In reply to his first question, some people said that the right time to do anything, the right time for every action, must be to draw up a calendar which would consist a table of days, months, and years, and you must strictly adhere to that calendar. Others declared that it was impossible to decide beforehand the right time for every action, but that not letting oneself be absorbed in idle pastimes, one should always attend to all that was going on and do what was the most essential. Now, other people said that it is very difficult to decide what is the right thing to do beforehand, but you should not let yourself do nothing. You should not let yourself be idle. You should always pay attention to whatever is going on around you, and then you must decide what is the most important thing to do and then do it. Yet, others said that it was impossible for one man to decide correctly the right time for every action, and that the king should instead have a council of wise people who would help him fix the proper time for everything. And then there were some people who said that it is very difficult for one person to decide, only one person to decide the right time for every action, for every deed that the king is supposed to do, but he should have a council of ministers, a group of wise people that would help the king decide the right time for every action, and those council of ministers would help him fix the problem. They would help the king decide what is the right time to do everything. Equally varied were the answers to the second question. Some said that the people whom the king needed the most were his counselors, others the priests, others the doctors, while some said that the warriors were the most necessary. Now, the answers to his second questions were equally varied, equally different. Some people said that the most important people to the king were his counselors, his council of ministers, and some said it was the priests, some said it was the doctors who was the most important people to the king, and other people said that it was the warriors, the people who fought for the king, who were the most important people to the king. To the third question about what was the most important occupation, some replied that the most important thing in the world was science. Now, in reply to the third question, some people said that the most important occupation, most important job was science. Most important thing, most important job in the world was science. Others said it was skill in warfare. Some other people said it was the art of fighting, and to others it was religious worship, and others said that it was praying to God. Praying to God was the most important thing in the world. The king was not convinced by any of these answers and gave the reward to none. Instead, he decided to consult a hermit widely renowned for his wisdom. Now, the king was not convinced by any of these answers. He did not give the reward to any of these people, and he instead went to a hermit who was very well known for his wisdom. The hermit lived in a forest which he never left. He spoke only to common folk, so the king put on simple clothes and, approaching the hermit's cell, dismounted his horse and left his bodyguard behind. Now, the hermit lived in a forest and he did not talk to any other people except common people. He did not talk to nobility. He did not talk to people who were rich, because that's what he said. He said he only spoke to common folk, common people. And so the king knew this. And the king put on simple clothes, common clothes, because he was a king. He usually wore luxurious clothes, So he wore simple clothes and he went to meet the hermit. When he approached the hermit's cell, the hermit's hut, he got off his horse and he left his bodyguards behind. When the king arrived, the hermit was digging the ground in front of his hut. The hermit was frail and weak, and each time he struck the ground with the spade and turned a little earth, he breathed heavily. Now, when the king arrived to the hermit's hut, he saw that the hermit was very frail, as in weak, and each time that he went and struck the ground with his spade, he breathed heavily because he was tired and he was weak. The king went up to him and said, "I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer 3 questions. How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? Who are the people I most need and whom I should therefore pay most attention? And what affairs are the most important and need my immediate attention?" Now the king went up to him and said, I have come to you so that you will answer 3 of my questions, wise hermit. Now, the first question was, mark this, students, because this is very important. What is the right thing that I should do, and I should know the right time to do this right thing. And the second question was, who are the people who are the most important to me? And of course, if I would know that these people are the most important to me, I would pay attention to these people. And what affairs are the most important and need my immediate attention? And please tell me what are the most important things, most important affairs that need my immediate attention. The hermit listened to the king but answered nothing. He just spat on his hand and resumed digging. The king watched in silence for a while, then feeling sorry for the hermit, he said, "You are tired. Let me take the spade and work a while for you." Now the hermit just ignored the king. He did not answer him. He spit on his hand and he continued digging. Now the king saw that the hermit was tired and he was weak. So, because he was compassionate, that's one of the features of his character. He's compassionate. He could feel that the hermit was tired and he was weak. So he took his spade and he offered to help the hermit dig. The hermit silently handed over the spade and sat down on the ground. When he had dug 2 beds, the king stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit again gave no answer, but rose, stretched out his hand for the spade and said, "Now rest a while and let me work a bit." But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. Now the hermit quietly handed the spade to him and sat down on the ground. After the king had dug 2 beds in the ground, he stopped and he asked the hermit to answer his questions, but the hermit again gave no response. The king now continued to dig, but the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. 1 hour passed and another. The sun began to sink behind the trees, and the king at last drove the spade into the ground and said, "I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me none, tell me so and I will return home." Now the purpose of the king in coming here was so that the hermit would answer his questions. The hermit was not answering the king's questions. So the king asked the hermit, "If you are not interested in answering my questions, please tell me so that I can return home." Now the hermit does not really answer this. He says, "Here comes someone running," said the hermit. "Let us see who is it." Now there was someone who was running towards the hermit and the king, and let's see who this person is. The king turned around and saw a bearded man come running out of the forest. The man held his hands pressed against his stomach, and blood was flowing from under them. When he reached the king, he fainted and fell on the ground, moaning feebly. Now there was a bearded man who was wounded and he was bleeding. He came running from out of the forest, and when he reached the king, he fainted because he was in pain and he was wounded and he was moaning in pain. He was crying out in pain. The king and the hermit unfastened the man's clothing. The king and the hermit opened the man's clothing. They took off his clothes. There was a large wound in his stomach. The king washed it as well as he could and bandaged it with his handkerchief and a towel that the hermit had. But the blood would not stop flowing, and the king removed the bandage, soaked with warm blood again and again, and washed and bandaged the wound. When at last the blood stopped flowing, the man recovered and asked for something to drink. Now the king helped the man. Now this is important because it will come in the character sketch of the king. The king does not really know this man. He is a king. He is not obligated to help people, but he is helpful, he is compassionate, and he is altogether a good person. So he goes ahead and he helps this man who is wounded. He bandages his wound, he washes his wound, he makes sure that there is no blood coming, And then after he recovers, the man does recover, and he asks the king for something to drink. The king bought fresh water and gave it to him. Meanwhile the sun had set and it had become cool. So the king, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man into the hut. The man lay there quietly with his eyes closed. Now the man had recovered. The king bought some fresh water and gave it to him. The sun had set and the king was tired, and before he went to sleep, he actually, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man inside the hut of the hermit, and he lay him there, and he was tired, so he went off to sleep. When he woke up in the morning, he saw that the bearded man was lying at his side and he was looking intently at him. Now let's see why this man is looking at the king. Now the bearded man, this is what he said. "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice, when he saw that the king was awake and was looking at him. Now out of the blue, this bearded man, this stranger who is wounded, he just apologizes to the king. The king, if someone apologizes to you out of the blue, it's like you do not know why this person is apologizing. And that's why the king said, "I do not know you, nor do I have anything to forgive you for." The king said, "I do not know you, and I don't have anything to forgive you for. You have not done anything to me, and I have nothing to forgive you for. You do not know me, but I know you. I am that enemy of yours who swore to revenge himself on you, because you executed my brother and seized his property." Now this is the connection between the bearded man and the king. Now the king, he had killed this man's brother and he had seized his brother's property. The king had taken away this bearded man's brother's property by force and had executed, killed him. "I knew you had gone alone to see the hermit, and I resolved to kill you on your way back. But the day passed and you did not return. So I came out of my ambush to find you. Your bodyguards recognized me and wounded me. I escaped from them, but would have bled to death had you not dressed my wound. I wished to kill you, but you saved my life. Now if I live, and if you wish it, I will serve you all my life." Now the bearded man said that because I had this grudge against you, I wanted to kill you. I had made up my mind to kill you when you were coming back after visiting the hermit. I knew that you had gone to visit the hermit. So I took up a spot, I hid myself in a spot, and I waited for you to return after seeing the hermit. But you did not return, so I came out of where I was hiding. Your bodyguards saw me and they attacked me and wounded me. I escaped from them, but I would have died from blood loss had you not helped me. And now if I live, and if you want it, I would serve you for my entire life." The king was very glad to have made peace with an enemy so easily and to have gained him for a friend. He not only forgave him, but said he would send his men and his own physician to attend to him. Now the king was a good person. He was forgiving. He did not really hold a grudge because he understood, why this man had a grudge against him. So he forgave him, and then he said that I will help you recover. I will send my own doctors, my own physicians to you so that you recover from your injury. And then in this way he gained a man, he gained a friend, and he made peace with this bearded man. The king then took leave of him and went out of the hut to look for the hermit. Before going away, he wished once more to beg for an answer to the questions he had asked. The hermit was outside on his knees, sowing seeds in the beds that had been dug the day before. Now the king, once again before he left, he wanted to beg the hermit to answer his questions. The king approached him and said, "For the last time I pray you to answer my questions, wise man." The king is again asking the hermit, begging the hermit to answer his questions. "You have already been answered," said the hermit. still crouching on his thin legs and looking up at the king who stood before him. Now the hermit said, "Your questions have already been answered. Let's see how the king's questions have been answered." "What do you mean?" asked the king. "Do you not see?" replied the hermit. "If you had not pitied my weakness yesterday and stayed to dig these beds for me, you would have gone back and been killed by that man." The hermit said, "If you did not take pity on me and on my weakness because I was tired and weak, and had helped me, stayed back and helped me dig these beds, you would have gone back and you would have been killed by that man." Now you remember the man said, "You did not come back, I was waiting for you." Okay, now this is what happens. This is why the king did not go back, because he was helping the hermit dig. So the most important time was when you were digging the beds. Now the most important time for the king was when he was digging those beds for the hermit, and I was the most important man, and to do me good was your most important business. And what was the most important business for the king? The most important business for the king was to dig, to help the hermit. The most important man at that time for the king was the hermit, and his most important business was to do him good, to help the hermit. Afterwards, the most important time was when you were attending to that man. For if you had not attended to his wounds, he would have died without having made peace with you. Now he gives him another example on how his questions were answered. Now another time he is explaining another incident. The most important time for the king was when he was helping the bearded man. He was helping him dress his wounds. He was attending to his wounds. He was attending to the bearded man. He would not have survived if the king would not have helped him. So he was the most important man, and what you did for him was your most important business. And the most important person for the king at that time, when he was helping the bearded man, was the bearded man. And his most important business was helping him, dressing his wounds. Remember then, there is only one time that is important now. Now he is basically summarizing his entire thing. This is very important, students, please mark. Now he says the most important time. What is the most important time? The present. Now is the most important time. It is the most important time because it is the only time when we have any power. Why is the present most important? The present is the most important time because it is the only time when we have the power to do something, to change our actions, to do good deeds. The most necessary person is the one whom you are with. The most important person for you is the person you are with in the present. For you do not know whether you will ever have dealings with anyone else. You do not know the future. So obviously you do not know who you will meet in the future, with whom you will have any business in the future. And the most important thing is to do this person good. And what is your most important business? Your most important business is, your most important thing that you should do is to do this person who is with you in the present good, to help this person. Because for that purpose alone you were sent into this life. And you were sent into this life, you were born in this life just to do good to people. Now this marks the end of my lesson. Thank you for watching.